Hello, I'm Mark Pugat. Welcome to Game On. Well, he's doing everything according to his manager just at the moment. And last night, Harry Kane scored twice as Tottenham look like they're set for the quarter-finals of the Europa League. Joining me to discuss this, Tottenham's form and Kane's form, we have Steve Sidwell, who played for Chelsea, Fulham and Reading, amongst others. Alan McInally, the former Celtic, Scotland and Bayern Munich striker. And the Daily Mail's chief sports writer, Martin Samuel. Hello everybody, I hope you're well. After a busy week of European football, Alan, we've enjoyed watching Haaland this week scoring, and Mbappe, of course, is terrific. But surely, is Harry Kane not as good as those two? Simply, he is unstoppable, Harry Kane.
I know, I don't know whether we just take Harry Kane for granted because we see him every week, but Harry Kane's numbers are incredible in terms of even assists, because you always talk about, okay, if you're not scoring goals as a striker, you need to be giving something else to the team. There must be something else. There must be an assist. You've got to be holding the ball up, passing it to someone, nodding the ball down for somebody, passing it into an area. He gets goals as well, but does all that. It's incredible. I mean, Mourinho must be pinching himself sometimes that he's not injured and he's in the team, because without Harry Kane, there's no chance, absolutely no chance Spurs are going to be anywhere near the top of the league without Harry Kane. Yeah.
Steve, 26 goals this season for Harry Kane, 16 assists.
Yeah.
So as Alan says, it's the laying on the goals, it's the scoring goals, and we can't put down a number for his defensive headers either, for his defensive work this season, which seems to have gone to another level. I mean this as a compliment. He's a monster, isn't he? You'd Tottenham kick off, you think, well, Kane's going to score. It's just a question of when.
I mean, he literally is the talisman, isn't he? I mean, Son done ever so well when he come in and filled the gap when Harry Kane was injured, and the understanding and partnership that they've struck up is telepathic, isn't it? But it's right. It's the whole package with Harry Kane. It's what you get defensively, the hard yards. He doesn't moan. He doesn't grumble. He tracks back. The amount of times you see him tracking runners, as you say, headers in his own 6-yard box, as well as scoring them in the other box. It's the whole thing. And his goals. I mean, his goals: left foot, right foot, hard finishes, composed, cultured finishes. And Alan's nailed it on the head there. We take him for granted because we do see him week in and week out. And it actually makes you think, if he was to get a move or to force a move to someone like Man City that would be putting goals on a plate for him, I mean, his numbers would literally just go through the roof even more.
The problem that Harry has got at the moment is the timing's all wrong, because Real Madrid and Barcelona's finances have never been in a weaker position, really. Bayern Munich don't spend the sort of money that Tottenham would demand on players. So you're looking at the moment a move within this country, unless it's Pochettino and Paris Saint-Germain. But Paris Saint-Germain have got Mbappe basically, and they've got Neymar, and you know how many strikers can you get into that team? So his options might be limited. I've always thought Manchester City would be perfect for Manchester City, but whether Man City see it like that, if they could get Haaland, who knows? Manchester City seems perfect. It would seem perfect for everybody, but you don't know. I mean, if Haaland was cheaper and with the sort of level of the deals that Daniel Levy has wanted done in the past, Haaland could be cheaper. If Haaland was cheaper and you were Manchester City, you'd go, well, cheaper, younger. You know, that's the route we're going.
Steve, I ask you this question, having started your career at Arsenal. When Harry Kane went off and put an ice pack on his leg, Twitter was ablaze with no chance he'll be injured for Sunday. No chance. Come on, Jose, you can't pull that one on us.
I mean, that Arsenal-Spurs game is just huge. It's the first one on the calendar that every Spurs fan and Arsenal fan look for. And he will be out there. You know, he will be out there. There's always a precaution with Harry, because you just never know. You do never know when he's carrying knocks, and that ankle does look like it is frail over the last few seasons. But even if he's 30% fit, he is playing.
And Steve, Kane and Son and Bale and whoever are saying to Leno on Sunday, go on then, play it out. Go on, play a short pass to Xhaka or Ceballos. Go on, do what you want. They'll be like sharks in Jaws, that lot, won't they? Circling.
I mean, this risk and reward style of play. I mean, it's been around for ages, and when it comes off, it looks great, playing through the thirds. But you've just got to know as any player, not even a goalkeeper, but decision making is the key here. I mean, the Leno one last week against Burnley, Xhaka did, done no help in terms of coming down the line of the ball, giving Leno an option. But Leno should know not to play that one. But last night, I mean, he's done the right thing at first. If you actually watch it back, he pulls to the right-hand side of the box to make an angle. And when he receives it, he could play Bellerin. He could play Bellerin down the right-hand side or just go long down the right-hand side. But for some reason, he tries to play back into traffic, back into where there's bodies into Ceballos to bounce the ball out. But yeah, I mean, any team playing against Arsenal now, you press them, because Arsenal dominate games like they did last night. But when it goes back into their own third, you just get so nervous.
Alan, do you watch all this playing out from the back sometimes and feel, I don't know, do you feel a bit like an old man and go, for goodness sake, what are you doing?
Watching any club, any football team who think they're as good as the 1970 Brazil World Cup team, you're like, seriously, but the only thing you should be practicing on a Friday morning, the goalkeeper, is a cross-field ball to Aubameyang and a cross-field ball to Pepe, I'm just talking about the game on Saturday, rather than give it. And when Steve said he thought he did the right thing, Xhaka, well, that'll be the first in a lot of games. But I just think it's an incredible arrogance, genuinely, a real arrogance. Listen, if you're a good player, confidence is different than arrogance. And doing the right thing as a top player, to be confident, is different than arrogance. And I saw last night an arrogance, Louise as well, at a time on the left-hand side. He was right almost on the line. And he's tried to play in up the line and it's hit the defender. And he's unlucky, the attacker, he didn't keep the ball in play. And I thought, what are you doing? Seriously, what are you doing? At least come out, or if you're going to play it up the line, get a bit of height on it and lift it over and at least let someone run in. Listen, modern day football, and you said Pep's got a lot to answer for.
Yeah.
If you've got Beckenbauer and Virgil van Dijk and X, Y, and Z, then play out in the middle all day long. Otherwise, do the right thing. Don't take too many chances.
Granit Xhaka, that was just a bad football decision. I can remember watching Brazil play. Kaka takes the ball with three people around him. And they give it to him, he calls for it, and they feed it into Kaka, and he's got three people around him, and he gets out of it because he's Kaka. Granit Xhaka is not Kaka.
Yeah. No.
I didn't realise that rhymed until I started that sentence. I'm very, very happy with it. But
Martin, give me one for Augenthaler, because you get I used to be on his back at training and I couldn't get the ball off him. Oh my God.
Yeah, because do you know what? Xhaka isn't good enough to play himself out of trouble with three guys around him. And the decision that he made, one, fair play, he's tried to give Leno an out ball.
Yeah.
But it's a bad football decision. Do you not think? I mean, it's not a smart football decision.
Alan, last night, Man United, that impressive win at City and the confidence it must have given them. They were back to that rather scrappy Man United last night.
I know, it's a proper Jekyll and Hyde. Last night again, I'm thinking, oh no, as soon as they scored, well, not even as soon as they scored, with the chances they had, and to be honest, they probably should have had a goal in the first half, AC Milan. I don't know if United will beat them over there. I genuinely don't. And if they play the way they did last night, Milan will beat them. But then again, I didn't think they'd go to PSG and win over there. So maybe all they got on the socials, get a bit of gold dust that he just sprinkles on them on a Wednesday night, and all of a sudden they get a result that nobody thinks they can get. But yeah, it must be very frustrating being a Man United fan at the moment, for sure. And Martial, 45 minutes. Oh. I mean, do me a favour.
Yeah.
Martin, you have to fancy AC in the return leg, Martin, don't you, after what we saw last night?
Yeah, I mean, well, particularly as how many injuries they had. I mean, they didn't even have a full subs bench, AC Milan. But the thing with Manchester United is it still looks so random. I know it seems quite strange because they play against Manchester City and they've clearly got a plan and everything, but the plan then isn't there the following week. I find it very hard tracking Manchester United and predicting what Manchester United are going to do, because a Pep Guardiola team looks like a Pep Guardiola team, and Jurgen Klopp, and they wouldn't even need to wear their colours. You could actually look at, they could turn up in a plain white T-shirts and you'd go, oh, that's Man City or that's Liverpool. And you'd know. Tuchel the same now at Chelsea. It's a very, very clearly defined identity. So God knows what you're going to get in San Siro next week. I really don't know. I would think I'd fancy AC Milan on last night, yeah.
Better week for Liverpool, Alan. What do you think? Jurgen Klopp says he won't take the German job. What do your friends in Germany say about that? Obviously, in the week that Joachim Löw says he'll leave after the Euros.
Yeah, nobody's surprised. Nobody's surprised at that yet. I don't think they think it's time for Jurgen Klopp to take the job yet. And I think the job that he's got at Liverpool, they think is almost not bigger, but too big for him still, especially the way the season's gone. And he doesn't think he'll come back on a negative, if you know what I mean. He'll need to leave on his terms and get Liverpool back to where he thinks they should possibly be. So I'm not really genuinely surprised about it. A little birdie told me that Hansi might be interested, even though, I mean, how can you leave Bayern Munich in the state he's put
Hansi
them in, my God.
Might want the
Yeah,
German
sorry,
job.
Hansi Dieter, as I used to call him. He still owes me money from backgammon, by the way. Because remember, he'd already been assistant to Joachim Löw when they won the World Cup in Brazil. So he already has that link with the DFB. So there is a possibility there, although maybe a big carrot, awful big carrot for him to leave Bayern the way he's got them just now. But yeah, I'm not surprised that I think he came out as well. I didn't actually see it. Somebody told me, said, I see Jurgen Klopp has rolled himself out the job. And I was generally not that surprised because I still think he thinks there is huge unfinished business at Liverpool yet. And there's no way he's going to leave them in the position they're at the moment. No.
Yeah. That makes sense, Martin, isn't it? You couldn't see. I mean, for apart from anything else, they didn't have the joy of celebrating the title in front of their fans. Liverpool, he'll want to try and do that properly.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic what Klopp did this week because he's in a situation there where people, will he have money to spend? Will he get the support of the board? Does he need to replace this player and that player? And he could have played politics with the German job. He could have done a little bit of eyelash fluttering and let it play out a little bit longer and, kept the board on their toes and he didn't. He got asked the question and he said no. And it was an unequivocal no. And I thought that was impressive because the temptation was there. You could imagine a lot of his peers and some of his predecessors. One could imagine Rafa Benitez wondering whether he was going to get money from the board and being linked with the job in Spain. I don't think Rafa would have just dismissed it out of hand or whatever. I think he would have played it a little bit, and he didn't. And it was exactly what Liverpool needed at that time, because they've had so many different crises this season in terms of the injuries and everything like that. The last thing that the players needed, just got beat by Fulham, very low in confidence. The last thing that they would have needed is speculation about whether the manager was staying or going, or is he going to be there next season, or is this team now going to break up or whatever. So I just thought it was use this word advising, noble thing to do.
Steve, let's talk about everybody's favourite subject, VAR.
Oh.
And yesterday, the Premier League asked every club for ways in which VAR can be improved next season. I would like to say, let's start by giving blatantly obvious penalties, like Foden,
Phil Foden,
and Peters' handball. Unless you think I'm wrong and Peters wasn't a handball, but he had the wingspan of a golden eagle with his arm out there. Well, how can we improve VAR?
Yeah, Joe, what I like the steps that they're taking in terms of bringing it out. In terms of it all seems in-house at the moment, doesn't it? With VAR now, as you say, they're branching out. They're saying to football clubs, football people. That's what it is. It's football people. You help us. How do you see where we can improve? And again, it just comes down to consistency. And as long as there's a clear black and white consistency with it, then everyone's going to be fine with that.
Right now, and I'd say to Martin and Steve, if you ask me right now, is VAR helping us? I'd say no. Now, how can that be possible when we've got 20 cameras at a game? And the handball thing, don't get me going there because it's an absolute joke. And every single manager, in fact, who was it the other day? Was it Sean Dyche? It was Sean Dyche and also Mourinho, I think it was, were completely and utterly perplexed about decisions that happened in the game with the use of VAR. It's not helping. And then if it continues not to help, then I'm happy to go, right, okay, let's talk about it. We can go back in the pub and say the ref had a good game or ref had a bad game. Because right now, it is killing us. Absolutely killing us.
It's in crisis, VAR, isn't it? Let's just literally take this pitch side monitor. First of all, don't go to the pitch side monitor, whatever you do. Then everybody was going to the pitch side monitor. Now we've had 2 incidents in the last week with Foden and Peter's handball. Steve and I were working together on Saturday night, where again, now, even though surely there's a decision to be made, even if the referee sticks with his on-field decision, they're not going to the monitor. So we're going like this. Then a goal goes, when a goal goes in now and I'm at home, I pick up the paper, I let the dog out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I come back in 2 minutes. Has it gone in? Oh, it's
a strange one.
It's like the 1930s. You might as well just shake hands. Good goal.
Yeah, it is a very strange one, because I'm very much like that now. That you scored a goal and you think, right,
what's for supper?
Because there's a bloke looking at a screen like this, thinking, right, how can I cancel this out? And it's. There's so many different issues. One of the more positive things that was said this week is you might be able to hear the conversation between the referee and the VAR. Now, that certainly helps. It certainly helps in rugby.
Oh, yes.
And one of the big mistakes, Mark, you were doing the match, when England played Wales the other week, is that the referee, Gauzer, the French referee, didn't explain that there was no conversation that anyone could hear. So you're just looking at that and thinking, everyone in the rugby world thinks the second try is a knock on. Everyone in the rugby world thinks he hasn't given England time to get into position after demanding that the captain speaks to his players. On neither occasion was there any conversation that could be heard. So you actually heard his thought process. You actually knew the thought process. And that is what football is like every single week. It's a mystery to us all. Last night there was stuff going on in the Manchester United match. Alan mentioned the Milan goal, which I can't see where the handball is. Steve, can you see where the handball is? Did you see the match last night, the Milan goal?
Yeah, it wasn't clear and obvious. No,
it wasn't.
No.
And there's no conversation and there's no anything at all that actually explains what this guy believes he's seen or what he has seen. Because either we haven't got the angle or he's made a mistake, but there's no explanation. It's just... It happens by magic. But the thing is, they've moved away. When you talk about common sense, what they've done is they've moved away from the rules and the way the rules were, when the rules were written. Because there's no television when the rules of football are written. So it's offside is about what can be seen with the naked eye. It's not. It was never meant to be that we will have this technology that we can actually decide to that degree whether you're that much offside. That wasn't meant to be what offside was about. Offside was meant to be when you were clearly standing beyond the defender. And we've moved away from. I think I've used this on here before. It's the same with golf and the ball moving once you've addressed it. It was never meant to be that you could slow the game, that you could slow the action down to that, so that it moves by one dimple, that even the guy who's standing over it can't see that it's moved, but you can notice that on television. Now he's signed for the wrong card, and now he scores wrong, and he's by the rules, he's a cheat. And golf stopped that happening because it was against the spirit of the game. And this is a toenail offside. It's against the spirit of the game and the rules when they were written.
Let's finish with a quick word on Arsenal-Tottenham. We talked about Kane and we talked about Arsenal playing out from the back. Alan, Arteta said that he feels the Arsenal project is about to go bang, which leads to the obvious gag. Well, if they play out from the back, it will go bang because it'll implode. But are Arsenal about to go bang at the right end of the pitch?
I will say, incidentally, the other night there at Olympiacos, it was a great result for them. A genuinely, really, really good result. And a real shot in the arm, genuinely, that might, in terms of confidence, help 6 or 7 of the players. Listen, if they think they're that confident going in against a Spurs team that I think will win the game anyway, if they start doing things that we expect them to do, then it will implode and it'll go bang at the wrong end.
Well, Steve, you obviously started your career at Arsenal, so you have a level of affection for them. Where are they going bang? A good end or a bad end?
Yeah, Joe, what I definitely think there's been a progression under Arteta. It's a transition. I do like the way that they play. You know, you can really identify the way that he wants them to play with Aubameyang either up top, and then the wide men in Saka or Pepe or Willian that comes into their inside channels and allows Bellerin and Tierney, who for me, Tierney has really stepped up a notch as well. They get them high and wide. I think that is where Jose will look at it and really try to stifle them, because Arsenal like it when the game's open and exposed. When there's a low block, they sometimes tend to struggle. But in terms of going forward, there's really an outlook now that you can identify with Arsenal. Last night, they controlled the game for 60 minutes. But first half was one of the best first halves I've seen from them this season. Looked really composed, controlled, moved the ball really well. The fullbacks balance it off so good, they're high and wide, good rotation, good movements, runs off the ball. But goals change games. And if they're going to shoot themselves in the foot, they do have a wobble, they do get rattled.
It's fascinating, Martin, isn't it? Because you've got Arsenal trying to do what they do up against Kane, Son, a revitalised Bale, Dele Alli on the bench. Lucas Moura's, is no pushover. It's a really interesting matchup. And you look at their league positions as well. Well, if you didn't spot Arsenal Tottenham, you would say it's two bald men fighting over a comb, this one.
Yeah, I mean, there is that. There's a little bit, what was it Gary Neville once described, Man U Liverpool in the days when they were like 7th and 8th. It's like the dog and duck versus the Red Lion. But Tottenham, perhaps more than Arsenal, would certainly harbour ambitions that if anyone in the top 4 slipped up, they could get in there. So I think it's a very, very big game for Tottenham, certainly. And it's always, the derby makes it a big game for everybody, but certainly for Tottenham in their current situation, they can't afford too many missteps.
Well, that's all we've got time for this week. My thanks to Alan McInally, to Steve Sidwell and to Martin Samuel for a very good debate. Before we go, here's the broadcaster Nihal Arthanayake on his love of Tottenham and how he thinks this weekend's derby is going to go. Bye-bye for now.
The reason mainly that I'm a Spurs fan is because when I joined secondary school, it was in the early 80s. Tottenham had won the FA Cup 2 seasons on the bounce. And Glenn Hoddle, or should I say Lord Glenn of Hoddle, Tottenham legend, had been at my school. So really, it's down to Lord Glenn of Hoddle that I am a Spurs fan. I remember that we went to see QPR and I think it was a draw. It was 1-1. And we only ever went twice with my mum and dad. But one thing I do look back on is think about this little Asian family going to a Spurs match, going to a First Division as it was then, Tottenham match in the 80s. And kind of how brave that was for my dad to do that, because my dad wasn't a big guy, and the fact that he took his family to must have been then overwhelmingly white. You still can't let what Sol Campbell did. You can't really let that go. You can't be the captain of Spurs and then go and join Arsenal and then win loads of stuff. That is a proper wind-up. They didn't have the word trolling then, but that was the most trolley thing that anyone could ever do in football. To leave Spurs and join Arsenal, it is like a trolling of the highest order. Oh, I mean, without question, Champions League semi-final, Ajax. I mean, that's why we all love Pochettino, and that Lucas Moura last second goal is the greatest thing. That's following on from the quarterfinal when we beat Man City in what was an extraordinary game of football. That Champions League run was just utter madness. The most annoying thing that I think any Spurs fan will tell you is how much we flatter to deceive. This is a team who were top of the Premier League for 2 weeks in December of last year. And within a week of that was 7th. I mean, you gotta laugh about it now. And then went on a losing run that meant we lost 5 out of 6 games, right? This is a team who go 3-0 up against West Ham and are absolutely flying. The 3 goals, we scored them in minutes. We're all over them. And by the 93rd or 94th minute, it's 3-3, right? And this has happened so many times. We feel like we're being trolled by our own team sometimes, you know. I loved, Ledley, he's only got one knee, still better than John Terry. Ledley. I'm hoping that Spurs take Arsenal apart, like no mercy. But Arsenal have been playing well. So maybe a kind of 2-0, 2-1 to us. If we batter them, which I hope we do, then that would be actually wouldn't be a big statement because they're a mid-table team now. We got to beat proper teams.